class. I'd wink my eye and laugh. Those days went by so fast.
Yes, my people, we're on episode 4. This is now Jay, and for this episode we have someone that I met in the 90s at a local community radio station, and since then we've formed a strong friendship. Whenever I've called this gentleman, he's always at the other end of the phone. He always provides me with advice around the music and equipment and even general life. So for those who may not know who I'm talking about, someone called Ganzi. In fact, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm just Ganzi, and a local you. So I'm just Ganzi, and I can't even say I'm anyone particular. I'm just Ganzi. Probably everyone knows me from DJing. We're going back as from White Swan. Probably Aston Ganzi. Call it Aston Ganzi for now.
Aston Ganzi. Okay. So this podcast, if you're listening for the first time, it's upfront discussions, and what we try to do is speak to individuals from the Birmingham local community and get an understanding of their journey navigating through life, some of the ups and downs of really growing up within the inner city. So to start with, Ganzi, let's talk about Aston.
Okay.
A young man, teenager, growing up in Aston, and I would say it's the 90s.
Born and bred in Aston until recently. I've only lived in Aston, Bevington Road, Ettington Road, and Frederick Road. They're the places that I've grown until my late 20s, actually in Albert Road as well, until in my 30s overall. So Aston is probably all I know. So growing up in Aston, what I would probably say is, I'm going to refrain from using names where I can, but some names I've got to mention. Yes. So growing up, it would have been me and what I probably consider some of my best friends, although we don't speak all the time. So one would be Carlos, which is Carlos G.
Carlos, yes.
You've got Skelly, you've got Pepsi, you've got Slim, Fatter, and you've got Punch. So they're like the core guys who I kind of grew up with. And what can I say? You probably got cousin William. So we all kind of grew up in Aston, and we wasn't the kind of, I think Aston's kind of an area where we kind of all just live together. Front doors, like people talk about the 80s and 70s where front doors were always open. It's like even now, if I go to, for example, like Fatter's house, for example, doors are open. Gavin, come in, man, and we kind of reason, and Mum would always welcome you with open arms, and we would always reason. And that's always been the case. And you got probably, you know what, we got the Blacktops, we got the Walkers. So we've got quite a few families and Harrises that were quite lived all together in my experience of Aston. I think what happened is it started to change a little bit later, where people started to grow up and started to like go into senior school. So I went to Aston Tower Junior School. Yeah. So I went there. I wasn't a guy who gave any trouble. There was no issues that I'm aware of when I was a youngster. Went to secondary school. My mum specifically wanted me to go to a school that wasn't in the local area.
Why do you think that was?
Well, she was quite open, and she was like, you know what? At the time, she says, I don't want you around too many people or too many black people.
Yes.
In a way, at the time I didn't understand it, but I think what she was probably saying or trying to articulate is, I want you to experience more than just Aston.
Okay.
I don't want you to be having your same friend then going from whether it's church or whether going to here and just going to the same stuff. I want you to go and experience a different side of the world.
And what would you say, talking about the community, what was the community spirit like at that point?
We were all together. We were all together. We had one individual who I won't name. He was a bit of a rough around the edges, so to speak.
Yes.
So what you had with him, he was a guy who was what we might call now a free child. He didn't care what he wanted. He just dealt with it. If he wanted something, he'll go and do with it. Yes. But he'll see you. There's still love there, but there's an element of don't trust that individual because he was a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Overall.
And that's why it's important to really get a picture of Aston, because for those that may not live in the area, you know, Aston's one of many areas that's well documented in regards to gang culture, deprivation. And it's interesting to see from the late 80s, early 90s, going to school, you had that community spirit. So it wasn't like that.
It wasn't like that at all. It wasn't like that. I think the farthest that we went, I think we mentioned about the inch high. So we grew up around a lot of those figures around us.
Yeah.
But they weren't influencing us to do negative or bad things, but they were just quite popular.
Yeah.
But I specifically remember me and my friends talking about starting our own little gang, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the gang was called the Young Inch High. And it wasn't no gang, like we weren't doing anything. And we were just being silly. And I remember we would do things like run over people's cars. As in just run, like just little silly, immature, adolescent crap, I'm going to call it now.
Yeah.
It weren't nothing like walking around and mean mugging. It was just nothing like that. It was just we used to all meet around on a Friday. We used to go to a club called Church Club.
Okay, where's that?
So that's it's a church. You know where the Villa Ground is?
Yes.
You know where the Villa Ground, where Trinity Road meets Witten Road, on the corner by the lights? Right.
That one on the corner?
The church on the corner.
Okay,
Church Club. Used to go in there. And it would be like free to get in, but you have to pay like 5p for a drink and 5p for a club biscuit. The guy used to own it, named Bob, the pastor used to own it, and he would just let us little freedom. So that was our little posse. We'd meet there, eat our little chips outside and run joke, and that was our little thing. Leave Aston Park. Just before they had a club on the corner of Bevington Road called Sahati House or Sati House.
What did you do there?
Table tennis and pool. Table tennis.
And you see, that's the difference with, I'd say, nowadays, because you know, I'm born and bred Handsworth, and we had similar things. Up the road school, you had table tennis. You could go there, I think it was about 50 pence at a time. And you go play table tennis, pool, football. You don't have those things now.
Again, with me, I remember me, Carson, can look quite competitive, and we'll play table tennis. And there's a game called Donkey.
Yes.
And Donkey, so imagine a table tennis table, and like I would serve to you.
Yeah. Then
I would run around. So then when I start to run around, Jason would come where I am. So you run around and you play donkeys. When you hit D-O-N-K-E-Y, so then you're out. Then last four would play donk, and the last two would play what we call a game of 15, or that's not 15, sorry, kings or 11 or 21.
Yes.
But the person who won it would dictate what was going on. And at this point, I would say is I became aware of structure, because there's some Asian guys who used to play with.
Yes.
Right. And what they would always do is strategically place themselves in the queue, so the person who they were hitting to was their friend. And they were like, upper, smash. So then 2-2 now in the final, two Asian guys. And we learned to play the game, and again you learn. And in the club they would have literally 2 or 3 bats.
Yeah.
And I remember man used to be playing with the book, man playing with his shoe.
Yeah.
Man was wanting the game. It wasn't about winning them times, it was about competing and being involved in that process.
And what would you say some of your influences were growing up?
Football was definitely one of the big influences. I was fortunate to have a guy who lived next to me, or 2 doors away from me, called Stephen Walker. Yes. Wicked footballer. Probably the best footballer I've ever played with or seen play football in our age. A bit older than me, but like he was, I remember one particular day, he got brought home by Doug Ellis, who's on Aston Villa. Okay. Right. That's how good he was as a youngster. Yeah. And I think what happened was I wanted to play football. Actually, I got into football. I ain't told no one this more than anything. I was avoiding going to church. I think I mentioned when I got engaged. Yeah. I was avoiding going to church. But my mum said, you're not going to not go to church and just hang up on the street and do anything not constructive. You got to do something constructive in your life. So we left, I left church to go to football, play for, I think it was Erdington Eagles at the time. Yeah. I actually remember walking to football. So the ground we used to play at was in Erdington. Yeah. I would walk through Aston Park, walk down the canal, little shortcut onto the football ground. And I remember specifically when little things like Tupperware, where at them time there, I would bring a piece of hard bread. Yeah. And as a sandwich, just like a piece of tissue, kitchen tissue, if I was lucky. Yeah. Man had sandwiches cut out and oranges were peeled and bits and. But I remember people were like, Gavin, how you getting home on the lift? I'm like, nah. I was too embarrassed because we never had that. Mum couldn't drive. Yeah, I wasn't really around like that. So, and honestly, that I weren't really into football. Yeah, but in that process, I got involved in a lot more activities. Doing I had trials for Blues, trials for Aston Villa, but that was me. Part of it was me just avoiding going to church. If I was conditioned
Yes.
a little bit more, I might have made it a bit further than I actually did.
And you've mentioned it a few times now in terms of the family.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the family structure. And to those who are not familiar with the Aston area, to navigate successfully through that area, there has to be some form of family grounding. So talk to me about the importance of what was family life like, really?
Okay. For me, I would say my dad, my mom. So my dad was around, but he wasn't around.
Okay.
So it wasn't actively around. He was a phone call away. He wasn't absent, so let's not act like he wasn't there, but he wasn't there every day. What I'd probably say is I grew up with my mum, before my brother came in, so my mum, my sister, but more importantly, I spent a lot of time with my nan and my aunts.
Okay.
A lot of time. So my nan was a pastor. A bit before that, I would say, for example, people probably won't know this and don't laugh, please. I used to be a lead singer in a choir at church.
You can't see.
Right, man was leading. Right, yeah, and they were the kind of things that I would do. And I would say, I think when I took certain steps in my faith and in my own personal life, I recognised that when I was in the church, I had no inhibition. There was no embarrassment.
Yes.
So the family was all carrying on. No matter how good or bad things were, I was always the best. They didn't tell me I was always the best. They always gave me, you're the best, 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 you're the best.
Yes.
You're the best overall. So I think that's where family was quite important to myself.
Yeah.
I think when I look at some of the individuals, I'll probably take it offline. So the names that we grew up with, we're like, oh my God, I forgot about him.
Yes.
And I would say they're a bit more rough around the edges. So I think they potentially, a lot of them, or two individuals in particular, live with their nan.
Yes.
Nan was quite an older person as well. Yeah. But you could see they were coming from more like towards the bottom of Aston, so they come from more the Witten area, so they're travelling quite far.
Yes.
Coming and mixed with us, but you could also see that they're a bit rough around the edges. Where I think if I was doing something wrong back in them days, if Carlos's mum saw me, I was going to get in trouble.
That's the thing, what we've lost, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you spoke about that, because I had an interview with Tanaya Sam, episode 2. If you haven't listened to that, go and listen to it. But he mentioned the same thing in terms of if he was doing something wrong, that person's parents will pull you up. We don't have that now. And that's what the community was like in Aston, you're saying. Yeah,
it's if you were doing wrong, right, and that parent would, if they wouldn't challenge you themselves, by the time you got home, your mom would know. And there was no Facebook and there's no WhatsApp in them days. It was a landline. It was a landline if you were lucky. Or that person would take the effort and go and knock it on and say, Pauline, you know me see your son done a new tongue in a big deal at it. For argument's sake. Because they knew they knew that if they kept me straight, it maybe help to keep their son or their daughter straight. It was like that element of each one teach from, we all need to be working together.
That's the community. Tell me something. It's 2021 now.
Yeah.
You see somebody's child playing about on the streets. You say something to them. What do you think would happen?
Trouble. Even again, I've done it before personally as an older man now, where I've told someone that their child is doing A, B, C, and they're saying, nah, not my child. Or what happens is I kind of get a little, none of your business, mind your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like nothing changes. So it's a case of now, you know what, I can only do what I can do, and I've learned more now that some things I've got to try and keep for work. I do it enough of that in my work.
Yeah.
In my work, so I don't need to bring it home in my personal life as well.
So, Ganzi, I want to take you now to, we're still in the late 80s, early 90s. When would you say that the community spirit started to leave the area and it started to get more serious in terms of the gang culture and the mood of the community started to get very serious?
Okay, the gang culture is, I'm probably going to say, didn't really kick in until, I would say, mid-90s.
Okay.
I would say the community spirit started to change a little bit before that, because what you found was certain people were starting to drive.
Yes.
Certain people starting to have jobs or have their own money. So I'm talking about people who start watching films like Boys in the Hood and stuff like that will come in. But men and women had personalities. Before, we had no personality. We just had, I'm an Aston man and that's it. I don't know nothing else.
Okay.
I didn't know about Birmingham. I didn't know about Handsworth. Didn't care about them places. I only knew Aston.
And the thing is, for listeners that may not know the areas, give a sense of how close these areas, because these are areas you could walk.
Listen,
the walking distance.
You could walk to the point where me and someone was talking the other day, and they were saying, I can't believe you live so close to me, because walking from Lazarus to Aston felt like forever.
Yeah.
Like forever. Because your mum would say to you, example, if I was on Lazarus Road, what I'm doing on Lazarus Road, chances are I look for my dad, because he'll be on Lazarus Road somewhere.
Yes.
But truth it is, you don't need to go and see him, because there's no mobile phone, so you gotta wait till he comes to see you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So certain places you just weren't allowed to be.
Yes.
So places like, for example, now you can probably drive to Handsworth to Aston in potentially what I could leave my house in Aston or my mum's in Aston and be in Handsworth in less than 10 minutes. That's
Yes.
how quick close they are. But when you're small, it's like a whole new road. It's like
Yes.
a whole new road. Besides Carnival, I've got no business in Handsworth.
I know we're fast forwarding a little bit, but someone living in Handsworth, I heard a lot about White Swan and
You see, the White Swan is got a history of the White Swan. So the White Swan again, and it is when you're going through the ages. So I would have been potentially 16, started to go to the White Swan. I wasn't a smoker, but again, that's where the cool people hanged out, innit? That's where the cool people hanged out on a Friday night.
Yeah.
You know, probably about more like 17 to be fair with you. On a Friday night, we'd be with there, just chilling. If you're lucky, you might get a game of pool on a bigger pool table. So I had a pool table at home, which
Yes.
is about probably 6 foot, 5 foot. When you go to the pub, there's a bigger table, better cues, and you can just kind of show off how good or not good you are,
Yes.
so to speak. And me being a younger brother's dad, me and him will play pool or snooker on a regular basis in my bedroom, and you know, you're counting your breaks and what you can do in your screwbacks and your follow throughs. And so when I went to a bigger table, you thought like, yeah man, I'll show people how good I am, and you want to show off in it.
Yes.
So you got to the pub, and sometime before it got to the point where people were coming and dancing and whatever, the woman who owned it, her name was Linda, maybe turn a blind eye to you being in there when no one's in there, play a bit of pool, if you were lucky.
Yeah.
If you were lucky. We weren't causing trouble, we weren't smoking or anything like that, so we weren't afraid. We weren't trying to buy alcohol. All we were probably going to buy was Mr. Smith's Chris,
Yes.
some peanuts, and play pool.
Yeah.
That we weren't afraid like that. For me, the White Swan got a bit sticky because in that process of going from school, I got into the music. So me being into the music, I got into the music because I think, you know what? I liked music. Shabba was big them times. Shabba was big. Obviously, I think I was around music and I saw what people's, whether it was a DJ, as in an artist, what response and how they were respected. And I thought, you know, I want some of that respect, man. I want to go and get that respect. So I started getting involved in music.
And what was the start? What was it? Your own setup, or was you part of a sound system?
In the process of it was, my godfather had a sound system that probably in its time was probably one of the greats of Birmingham.
What sound system?
Stereo Classic.
Is that, because I know that, knowing you, I know you had a heavy involvement with Stereo Classic and you can always call on them, so I didn't know that was the link.
Yes, so Stones was my godfather. So what happened with Stones now? Him and my mum were close, him and my aunt were close. His mum, Miss Daisy, and my nan, Miss Douglas, were very close.
Okay.
But like I'm talking about is if they're both still alive now, if I went to go and see her, oh, your nanny.
Yes.
Or someone, nan, when I see Miss Daisy, she alright? And blah, blah, because they'll phone each other, but sometimes because their health and their other commitments, they couldn't always be on the phone, but they would always had a respect for each other.
Yeah.
So then I realised that I could go and play the sound.
Oh.
I could go and play the sound, so I could go and play the sound in the living room.
Yeah. Go
down there, you play two little tune and do little bits and bobs.
Yeah.
At that point, I was already still buying records.
Okay.
Buying records, and I got involved in some local sound systems. I don't want to go into naming of individuals within that. So we were having dances anyway. Started to think about having dances. That came after the Swan days. So how it was, the music was kind of, I was starting to make a bit of name or get myself involved in there.
Yeah.
In there, I'd have got into radio.
What radio's then?
PCRL.
And again, for those who will be listening, talk, what is PCRL? And...
So PCRL, it was a acronym for People's Community Radio Link.
Yes.
103.5, it was what we're going to call a community station, aka some pirate station. But what it was in them days, it was, again, we're going before YouTube, we're going before Facebook, we're going before social media. So that was social media.
Yeah.
To the point where if I'll be on the radio, people will be phoning me and saying, please big me up, but give me 10 minutes to go back home, come in the phone box.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was that kind of scenario, and people were taping it and say it once and blah.
Yeah.
And it was fun. People enjoyed it. It was the method of, think about it. People were going to parties them days, and the only way you knew about a party was through the radio.
And the thing is, with the youths nowadays, the significance of community radio stations in those early days, it was pivotal. Yeah. I would say it was the main source of information for the community. If you needed to know what was going on, I remember a time where something must have happened, or a car must have got stolen, and they pull it out on the radio station just to say, look, this DJ just wants their records back.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about the car, just leave the records anywhere and we'll pick it up. It was things like that, really.
And I think for me, this is where the world became bigger than Aston. Although I was going to school in Erdington, I didn't have no issues. I didn't experience no real issues. Got into a few fights, got a few boss lips here and there, a few boss heads, but it weren't nothing life-changing.
Yes.
But I think the DJ stuff is where my world started to change a little bit. So we're talking about, I've gone from being a local Aston kid, who no one knows, to people knowing a lot about who I am. And I think in that process, I became more aware of individuals who may not like me, or who may not like me, or I might not like them.
Yes.
Because before it was just love. I was surrounded by love. Nothing else but love. And some people, we didn't like each other. We just didn't understand each other.
Yes.
But me and maybe them interpreted it as you don't like me. You know what I mean? And this is before the gangs. Slightly before the gangs. I think what happened is at the White Swan, there was a situation. I got into a fight, but I don't want to go into that in any depth now. I got into a fight. And I think that's where I became more aware of the divide between certain individuals and certain gangs, so to speak. But before that, I can say there was no issues where anyone could go anywhere. We could walk Sudden. You could walk, Sudden is Lee Bank Way, no issues. You could walk Handsworth, you could walk Aston, there's no issues. Yeah. I have many visions of man from Handsworth being in Aston, no issues. Yeah. No issues. They used to link some people down in Aston, there was no issues. Yeah. So when I see some of the documentaries on TV, I'm like, ooh, I'm not sure about that. That's not quite right. Yeah. That's not quite right. But again, everyone has their own different stories and their different version of events.
And I think that's why, again, with Jay and myself, why we really wanted to pursue this journey, because the media sometimes portrays things that's not 100% accurate. Before the media came into play and, presenting all the negative connotations about the area, there was a community spirit. None of that was happening within those areas. So would you say that from once you started to get into the DJing and people started knowing you as a DJ, would you say that's where it started to, in terms of, I wouldn't say the issues, but now the pressures of navigating?
I don't think you're linked to me specifically. I think things are already happening. Yeah. Because there were things like, I'll tell you what it was, Bonfire Night. Yes. When Bonfire Night happened, you said always had one in Pipehays and one in town. Yes. And there will always be issues because you hear about man getting robbed at the bus stop. Yes. Right. What I think you found was people misconstrue who certain gangs are. Yeah. They got one gang in their head and it was that gang. Yeah. Okay. If I fast forward to even 2020, in the last 5 months in my day job, I've had a young youth tell me he was robbed by a gang. Yeah. I'm saying that can't, because that gang doesn't exist the way you're talking about it. And you're a 15-year-old, 14-year-old kid. Actually, you're a 14-year-old kid. So I think sometimes, going back to them days, I think sometimes people just see a guy who acts a certain way, give him a label, and it's normally one of the two main gangs in Birmingham that name seems to get called in these scenarios.
And that's the difficulty of people from outside of the circle, what they wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
Because I always know you as someone music orientated, you DJ, promoting and so forth. But just because you live in a postcode, you have that label, and it's how you now have to maneuver yourself, because you're not part of the gang culture, but you live in that area.
And I think what it would be, and this is for anything that you do in life, and it's about risk assessment.
Yeah.
I can remember playing as a DJ in a dance in Oaklands, and there's a fatality in the events, or outside the events. That was linked to the gangs were available then, but I was very conscious I did not get involved with it because that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. So I think sometimes, again, my own perception is sometimes people inherit issues that they sometimes acknowledge and reinforce by not going to certain areas, or not talking to certain men, or not dealing with certain men. So I feel that me personally, I think what's happening now, people were starting to make money. So what was happening now, for me, I live in Aston, so I was only limited to Aston. I didn't drive.
Yeah.
And when I did drive, part of my role was, my mum says, you gotta contribute to the car. So I had a cleaning job.
Yeah.
So I had to be at work with my mum between certain hours.
Yeah.
I couldn't just jump in the car and just, yo, my man, let's go at ABC and do what we need to go and do. I had a very limited time to go and be away from my mum.
Yeah.
In certain ways, because a bit of control, tactical control, I'm gonna probably call it, but also give me life skills to move onto different things. I think a lot where the gang started to, I'm gonna change the word gangs to where the lifestyles changed. Yeah. Was when people started to go to college, because college now you've gone from being a local youth
in a school
to being maybe one of a few in a college. But then what happened is I link you in the college, like, we're gonna run this thing, come on, come talk to us. Or before you know it, we've gone to college now, especially when you're coming as a man who is nobody. I got nothing to offer. I'm not in anything like that, but because I'm well known, as a DJ, my name is well known. Yeah. When I come to a certain area, I may take a bit of light from someone else.
And that's the thing as well with college, where it's interesting you say the mood started to, things shifted in college, because school, you've got catchment areas. Yeah. If you don't live in a certain catchment, you may not necessarily get into a certain school. But with college now, there's no catchment areas. You've got people, men and females from all areas meeting up at a particular college.
Yeah. I went to Bourneville, my first college was. And what I found with the Bourneville College now, you had people from Bourneville, people from Northfield, people from Handsworth, people from Aston, people from Ern, people from Sutton. Now what happened, and this is how you know how it's funny, because what's happened is I'm coming there as an Aston youth. Yeah. I'm also a DJ. Yeah. But I'm coming with a so-called reputation. Good or bad, depending on what side of the fence you sit on. Yes. I'm now meeting man who were the gangs of their area. Right? Although we didn't get on, although we didn't fight, as in fight, we were quite cool. But I'm also a man who keeps himself to himself. But then what you find is now, today, I'm hot. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm cold, but then he's hot. Yeah. So we're kind of sharing the little limelight. And I think at this point now, some of the men who were linked to the gangs were also driving. So they were doing the rounds around certain colleges. So talking about JC, Josiah Mason. Yes. St. Phillips, a man were doing the rounds, catching in the common room. And I think this also, and this is my hypothesis, man were coming as nobody, coming to college, taking a man's limelight, and that was causing friction.
But I think as well, definitely going back to the family structure. Yeah. How you're describing it in terms of, because it's similar to a struggle of power. Yeah. Right? You're ending up in a college and you're known. Yeah. Somebody else from a different area is known, and you're both in the same vicinity. But I think for yourself, is that grounding in terms of, the growing up grounding. So there's certain principles and morals that you know how to maneuver yourself so you don't get drawn too much into.
And I think on reflection, that was just probably by luck, because I would say an individual I have not mentioned yet, and I think I won't mention him until later on, right, is because when you got certain men around you who man fear, that sometimes buys you credit. So when I'm going to college and say, oh, yo, you know who G hangs out with, then it straight away. So the man who probably has an issue with me, and the joke, I also had an issue, but what happened is when you've got, it's a bit like you're at home, and it's like you're at home and you run things at home, and
yes.
And then before you know it, your partner's mum comes down for the weekend, and your partner don't fart on you for the whole weekend, and it's like a bit of jealousy, like, hold on, until that mum come out, I was cool. Now you tell me I gotta go and do this and blah. Before, you didn't really bother me. So sometimes it's that getting used to change, it's managing change.
Yeah. But that again is like a double-ended sword, you know, because whereas you can have that person, and if you're moving around that person, it kind of buys you some credits.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you also have to take on the backlash.
Yeah. And I think luckily, because I'm not a guy who's confrontational, I'll quite take a back seat.
Yeah.
So what happened is sometimes a lot of things blew over, because sometimes people wanted to, as I say, boost the war and give trouble. What I was very good at, and probably also scared, I would see sometimes things, no, that's not for me, man. Let's call it quits.
Let's call it quits.
Yeah. And sometimes it's knowing, and this is probably one thing I'll probably tell my sons, is mainly probably the younger one, because he's probably getting a bit of trouble at times. Know when to jump off.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to know when to jump off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a very important thing, because sometimes I wouldn't say pick your fight wisely, but you have to know when to step away from things before it escalates. I mean, before we move forward, I really want to go back to White Swan.
Yeah.
Because from someone from outside the area, I know White Swan was quite a hot spot.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that was happening around White Swan? And
all it was White Swan, it was the hot spot in it. So what you'll find is Friday and Saturday was technically roadblock. So you'll go there and it was just a roadblock, and you had everyone from, if I look at it kind of growing up, the circle used to be White Swan, Thursday, Lamplighter, or was it Cross Guns? Or even both. It was mainly Cross Guns on a Thursday.
Okay.
Friday was White Swan, where you started off with, and if you're lucky, you might end up at somewhere like FCF wouldn't let us in them times, so we're too rough, and they were quite strict in getting let people in. So it was White Swan and maybe somewhere else. But Saturday would be White Swan and then Hampton Road.
Okay.
I'm talking about, I remember we're talking about Hampton Road, and we're talking about we're going to dance or blues with £5. You're paying £2 to get in, and me and Carlos are probably sharing a Lucasade between us.
You know what, right? Let's go to the blues thing now.
Yeah.
So Ganzi, let's talk about the blues.
Yeah. What
did that mean to the community at the time? Bear in mind, we're still in the 80s and 90s.
It was party, innit? It was a party. A blues to me, I'm not going to go down the official, a blues, how I interpret it, would be a house party or a shubbing where you're going to get probably 50, 60 people in one little small room.
Okay.
It's going to be pitch black. You're going to go and buy your drink, and you're going to get your shot in a plastic cup.
Yeah.
Them days, I don't drink it anyway, but if you're drinking, you're looking at potentially people drinking Ribenas, cartons of Ribena.
Yeah.
You were Thunderbirds, Can I?
Yes.
2020.
Okay.
Cherry B.
How old were you at these times now? So you're running up and down in these blues.
I was 17, 18, because what it was, I like music.
Yeah.
So what was happening, like sometimes you got to a christening or a wedding, and you see the DJ's playing, so the little boy is watching, just fascinated by the DJ, just looking. That was me. Yeah. I love music. I love to see how music impacts on people and people lose. So when I'm going to Hampton Road, I'm probably 17. I was 17. I was at college, so I was 17, because I'm now venturing boring after. We didn't drive.
Yeah.
So we could never have a car to go to certain places. What we would do is push it a little further. So Hampton Road is going towards, people call it Perry Bar. We're going to call it go towards Hampstead Road. So you're kind of pushing the boundaries here. You're pushing the boundaries. And you go in there. I'm the youngest by far, more than likely. Yeah. If I'm lucky, I might get a little Robbie pan a big woman if I'm lucky. You know what I mean? But there's I'm talking about your dance. You go left, she go right.
Yeah.
That'll be.
And what people don't realise, those days after the dances, you're walking home, you know.
Yeah, Reggie. I've got a vision now of me, Williams, and Carlos walking home from Edgbaston.
Yeah.
And I remember, because someone told, these days you were told There's a party in Edgbaston by the cricket ground where we don't know, but we're going there.
Yeah.
And we went there and we caught the bus, because we had bus pass them time there. So we caught the bus there, not knowing how we're getting home. And I remember specifically walking from Edgbaston. Remember, at the moment I walked normal, but at them time, they're walking from Edgbaston to Aston was like 10 hours in your head. It's 10 hours.
And it's dark.
I remember we got to the library where the fountain is.
Yeah.
And my cousin back off his shoes and put his foot in the fountain because he said the foot's hot in him.
Yes.
And them time I managed to walk with a flannel or a kerchief in their back pocket.
Yeah.
And took out his kerchief, dry his foot, put back behind his sock, and we're kind of walking home.
The thing is though, when you talk about it, you have to keep bringing it back to the youths nowadays.
Yeah.
They would not do that.
Nah, man. They're jacking someone's car and don't get me wrong, I think some people that I was growing up with might have been thieving cars.
Yeah.
Might have been thieving cars, but more car stereos rather than the cars.
Yes.
But because I wouldn't go so far, because thieving a car, probably the easy part.
Yeah.
But then, if my mum saw me driving a thief car, the punishment would probably be more severe than the police.
I was speaking to someone the other day about that, is that back in the day, if you got in trouble by the police, you're more fear going home and explaining it to your parents. Yeah, man. Whereas that's just shifted. It's not like that no more.
There's no fear. So I think, so the blues thing, I remember there used to be houses. So if we go from Hampstead Road, coming from Hockley,
yes,
past the old HSBC bank, and you're going by where your brother used to live, and you take a left going towards the park.
Yes.
There's some houses round there. Is it Whitehall Road? Right. Now, you see them houses now, they're big.
Yes.
Living rooms are big. You see, it's now blues. Them houses are made for blues. Because certain houses, you have it where you get either 2 living rooms and a kitchen, and people make their own bar.
So the furniture's
out. And so a blues was normally someone trying to do a little thing, make a little money. Yes. But more importantly, it was about sometimes the community, keeping the community together.
Yeah. And that's the sense where, and all that was fun for us. The fact of walking home from a blues, that was all fun. What you would talk about the next day.
Listen, that was part of the day, man. It's when you're getting dressed now, you're thinking, no, I'm wearing this. Hold on. Can I walk home in these shoes though?
Yeah.
That was all part, because there was time we caught taxi.
Yes.
I've Skanking Taxi once or twice, or 50 times.
No, do you know what? That was the thing. I remember Porsche Club.
Yeah.
You go Porsche Club, you've got no means. I don't want to call no one's name, but people would know. You go Porsche Club, no means of getting back. You have to call a taxi.
Well, if you look at it now, because I think, and this is where probably the gang thing came in, or around the same time as the gang thing, that posted the gang thing coming in. I remember going to places like Porsche Club before. You can get a taxi and go to London and back without no questions.
Yes.
Now, money up front.
Yes.
Right. It changed in the 90s because man were getting skanked.
Yeah, that was the one. The skanking taxis, the walking back in the snow. I remember one time it was snowing and we walked back.
Yeah.
Freezing cold.
Didn't care.
You didn't care.
There's no shame. There's no shame. No embarrassment.
Yeah.
And I think when the gangs and the culture started to change was when we became aware that we weren't on the level of a next man. Yes. He's driving.
Yeah.
I remember me and my friend going to Supreme's one night.
Yes.
And 2 individuals said,
West Bromwich, and it's
West Bromwich. Yeah. Saying drop us home. I said, nah. And they argued with us. And we stood firm. Said, nah. We're not doing it. And I think them are the kind of things is because we weren't too sure about what's right and what's wrong as regards to, I don't mind getting in trouble for me and you, but the next person, nah.
Because you're now venturing out now, so you're meeting new people, new encounters, which easily, if you make the wrong decision, the outcome of your journey could change.
It's changed. And I also am aware of a few times where I think I've had a few near misses where people have asked me some random questions.
Yes. And
it might have been something like, yo, drop me home, please.
Yeah.
Or drop us home, and like 3 man who like, I don't know you guys.
Yes.
And it's a case of, do you really want to get dropped home, or are you trying to rob me or something? No, there's things that you just don't know.
Yeah.
That you just don't know. So it's back to the risk, innit? Or when to get off. And guys, I ain't driving.
And I think that's when the mood is shifting from the community spirit to a more, I wouldn't say dark undertone, but things are starting to get serious now. So we're in White Swan. The situation now, because there's something happened in White Swan where the direction of your travel now, you're at a crossroad.
I can tell you the story about White Swan without mentioning the White Swan, because it actually happened before the White Swan.
Okay.
So I remember it was December the 18th, and I think the year was 1995 or 96.
Yes.
So, and the event took place over a 4-week period. So, a 4-week period this took place.
Okay.
Right. So, me and my little team, we had a sound called Young Taurus. That was the Aston sound, Young Taurus.
Yeah.
Me, I give the name, Fata, Skelly, Daddy I were the names.
Yes.
Sammy were the names of where we are. So we had a dance at Nico's Green Community Centre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how far I've been involved in Nico's Green Community Centre.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, there was a guy named Wesai. Again, big up Wesai, because I think these man saw my potential as a youngster.
Yeah.
And him and a guy called Dave Barrett tried to help me, again, back to community spirit. These guys saw me and was always, Gav, yeah, all right, Gav, and they would always, even now, see them look out for me. Got nothing but respect for both of them.
And before, I don't want to cut you right, but this is why, and myself and Jay sat down and talked about this a lot. We don't sing praises of these individuals, because if you look back growing up, those are some of the individuals that were pivotal to the youths growing up. And we'll talk about Nico's Green Community Centre and some of the under 18 parties and so forth. But without the likes of him, that may not have, you can't get in the door.
That wouldn't have gotten.
It wouldn't have happened.
That wouldn't have gotten. And some men abused the scenario. I'm not going to go into because we're going to look at what he done. So I think he got an opportunity. But what happened was, me as a youth, I didn't know how the sound thing worked. I just knew that the name Ganzi was carrying a little bit of weight in the community. I'm not going to say that I was the best thing since sliced bread, because there were enough times that I would go dance and I got booed a few times. So it's not a case that I was always that. But if you look at it in today's society, there was no Facebook, no YouTube, no social media, no WhatsApp. I was on PCRL. So straight away, I was now heard by the whole of the Midlands or whole of Birmingham.
Yes.
So now, people get hidden because there's so many people to hear. I was one of a few, like less than 30 people who were on the radar at the time.
And to be fair, right, credit to yourself, because to get on that radio station as well, it's not an easy task. Do you remember you'd have to put your demo tapes and you have to wait, and don't forget you've got the bigger like heads that are on there as well. So the big Johns were on there. There's DJs established.
And then, so the name was carrying more weight. So people didn't know who I was, but they heard who I was. Not to say it was good or bad, but oh, him, the radio, safe, or bits and bobs.
Yeah.
So that's where we kind of got to. So at December the 18th, I had a dance, and I remember I had the van man. I used to do a classic sound. I went to dance. Don't get me wrong, the dance wasn't. There's not many people there, because again, I'm still learning the trade about putting on events and bits and bobs, and so that was my first event, and I'll never forget it. It finished early. Yeah. It finished early to the point where we quickly loaded the back of the van, and this is how I started to DJ at White Swan, because in my head, I've got a few young people that follow me today, and no matter where I go, remember, we're leaving. I'll tell you how dedicated we were. We used to walk with the record boxes to dances. I remember one day walking on the expressway with record boxes from Aston to play at a party. So that's dedication. Not like now, man's plugging their phone, talking about, play them from Spotify. We're talking about carrying record boxes. We're not driving on the National Expressway, as in the motorway, as in from Aston to Erdington, to go and DJ.
And this is why, again, people have to respect the DJ. I don't know how much the DJ gets respected, but people have to respect the DJ. You wouldn't hear music if it wasn't for the DJ.
So the dance finished, and we just said, no, something guys, where you going now? White Swan. Because everyone had told their mum that at their friend's house, oh, they're not coming home till this time, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They expected it to finish about 12. It finished about 10:30. So we left there and went to go and play at White Swan.
Okay.
In the upstairs room, at the back in the upstairs room.
Now, this is the notorious White Swan that we've been talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
So we're at the White Swan now. So what's happened now? Me and Skelly are working, and I play the song. And then time man go boop boop boop, pull up the tune. So on the fader, imagine you got the fader, you got the fader, which is normally channel 1 to the left, channel 2 to the right.
Yes.
And you got the volume up and down, channel 1 and 2.
Yeah.
What's happened in the excitement? I pull up a tune, I put the fader to one side and turn something down. So when Skelly's gone read up the tune and blah blah blah, and play the tune again, I'm playing the song, but we can't hear anything. So one youth's gone, listen, you dickhead, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But because he was with his people, he thought it was okay. And to be fair, how we talk sometimes as people is aggressive anyway.
Yes.
So what I've gone is, shut up, you dickhead, in response to the individual.
Yes.
He's then thought, who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Now me, in my absent-mindedness and in my, uncall it, lack of risk protection,
Yes.
has then said, you dickhead.
So, and you've got to bear in mind now, you're in your own backyard. You're in your own backyard, and the struggle for power. Remember, we was talking about the college
and
day.
the truth of it wasn't even a loud confrontation. Because remember, the music's now playing now, and blah, blah. We're in a little corner behind the DJ booth and blah, blah, blah. So in the end now, I feel, I interpret, one of the other guys goes, don't worry, man, we'll see him again.
Yes.
So they recognise where they was, and the risk like, no, nah. So that was the 18th of December. Now, at the time, my little brother would have been 6 or 7, maybe 8.
Mm-hmm. So, and we're still in the 90s.
Yeah, it's in the 90s. So I'm lying. My little brother would have been about probably 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah? 8, 9 or 10, that kind of age. So me, Skelly, and my little brother in town shopping. At this time, I think I'm a hot boy now, because my name's calling. Everyone knows who I am. Things are going on. I'm wearing a gold chain. The chain must have been about £19 from Pape Samuel.
Hey, Samuel, you get the chains with the holograms.
Listen, I had a little gold razor blade on my chain, because obviously, man, thought it was hot stuff in it. Man couldn't talk to me in them days. So in my head, I was going on with team, my name was calling. So the DJ team was paying off now.
Yes.
I'm getting credibility. And in my head, I'm trying to see opportunities to make DJing work for me.
Yes.
We're in town now, and I remember walking up the ramp. Remember Sock Shop?
Yes.
On the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Got my shops up now. Boom. I saw the same guys. So they've all surrounded me now. Boom. One guy in particular, I'm not going to mention his name, pulls my chain. And what hurt me the most about the man pulling my chain, he didn't even take my chain. He just busted it left on the floor. Right? So I'm like, really? And I don't want to pick it up because going down now, I'm not sure what kind of a reason I might be able to might happen there.
Yes.
I'm angry now because in my head, I'm lying to myself. I'm honest to myself, like, yeah, if only my little brother were here, I'll show you how bad I am. What truth it is, guys, no matter what you guys can do to me now, if I don't bring my little brother home today, I'm in trouble. So no matter what you guys are thinking today, I've got to get home. Boss, I owe boss if I don't care, but I've got to bring my little brother home. Yes. So anyway, they've done that now. DK, little scuffle. I don't know what happened, but it didn't happen. Nothing happened at that point there. Okay. So we walked round. So we've gone back. So we've gone past what we call now Foot Locker. We took a left. Now walking through, or past the Foot Locker, walking down the Bridge Link. Yeah. Gone past the Bridge Link now. Now
that's now. Wow, what do they call it now? Is it Grand Central?
Yeah, Grand Central.
Yeah, because before it was that link.
Bridge
Before,
Link,
yeah.
And under the Bridge Link was Club Judas.
Yes.
So we're walking through the Bridge Link now. No worries. And I'm hurt, but I've already weighed up. But it was okay. Yes. And my priority now isn't about my feelings. Yeah. Because whatever happened to my brother, if anything happened to my brother, when I get home, I'll get 10 times worse. Yeah. Plus tax. You know what I mean? So walking through the Bridge Link now, remember you had there was a Asian shop on the right hand side that is like a market shop. I remember it because I still buy my blank tapes from there. Like you go in there, it's like a big deal. It's like a pound land in a sense. You can buy anything from in there. Yeah. Walk past there, used to go down some more escalators. Hat man will be down the escalators going towards the market.
Oh yeah, I know where you're talking now. Okay. I picked up back where you're talking. Thing,
yes. So we come down the escalators, first set of escalators now. Boom! So you meet them again. So 2-2s now, they pull me, yo, blah, blah, blah. Yo, come around here, do something. Like, in my head, this is where the panic kind of came on. Like, you know what, guys? Right now, I'm not walking from here to behind the escalator to turn me over. It don't make sense.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
if we're gonna fight, let's just fight here. In my head, I'm thinking, someone can save me. I got a chance here. Now, I remember, because I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I was scared, not what was going to happen to me with my little brother.
Yes.
So I remember saying, Skelly, take my little brother. I'll deal with this in a sense, not the brother. And it's funny because even within the scuffle that was going with the youth, they had the respect for my friend and my little brother to walk away.
Yeah.
And if that was now, would someone walk away? You know what I mean? So on that hand, you got to say, give thanks for life in certain ways.
Yes.
And they're now trying to drag me behind an escalator. I'm saying, nah, boss. So we're scuffling now. And I remember, boom, I got a bus lip because one of them jumped up and punched me in my lip. And when he punched me, like he's knuckling my teeth on my lip. He hit my teeth in it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Left it there, bro. Left it there, no issues. So I'm like, I'm hurt now, but again, my little brother's okay. In my hand now, it's not a case of it's these guys from here or those guys from over there. I'm like, I know the guy who licked me in my face.
Yeah.
I know who licked me. That's it. So what happened is between that now, I remember now that scuffle happened. So going back to gone home, and it's kind of died down, things are gone. Then I'm gone to one of my friend's house, and the guy who hit me randomly on the phone to my friend. So then we agreed to meet and have a fight, and we kind of had a fight. I'm not going to go into the fight in any detail. But what happened is what's happened after the fight is we got to a scenario where me and his name are calling quite a bit.
Yeah.
For the various reasons. Gavin ABC, blah, blah, blah. So I'm quite mindful of what can happen. I remember one guy particularly saying to me, gee, you're F, you know. Yeah, man. You can't DJ again. You can't DJ again.
And the thing is, sorry to cut you though, but this is again before the time of it was getting serious. Well, it wasn't serious. It was a phone call where you just a little fist fight and
put it this
so
way,
forth.
The guys, the person's house that I was in, the guys who was on the phone would normally be at the person's house anyway. So it weren't like say the people could go. There weren't no border control, so to speak. There weren't no customs officers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. There weren't no required visas that people could flow through. There were no issues.
Yes.
I think what happened, because me and the individuals had an altercation, it kind of spewed a little bit further than it needed to.
Okay.
Right. Something that's so small blew up quite big. So what happened is, I remember one guy said to me, Gavin, you can't DJ again. And I thought, you know what? He's made a point there, you know. He's made a point. And I remember, you know, being very conscious, very scared, I'm going to answer that, very scared.
Yeah.
Because I'm at Bourneville College now. So I'm still at college. Me and a man's got an issue that's unresolved. I'm not a man who walks with 20 man.
Yeah.
I'm not a man who's walking with any form of weaponry. But then I've got to leave Bourneville and go through all these Solihull, go through City Centre, go through Newtown, before I get home.
And you still have to DJ as well?
All right.
Yeah.
So make a choice, innit? Make a choice. Now, I remember one thing my dad said to me, and I'll never forget it. Yeah. And he said to me, without going into the full detail, quote, it's better you go to prison than you go to the graveyard.
Yeah.
So it's kind of saying, kill or be killed.
Yeah.
Right? And that just wasn't me. That didn't sit right with me. Because that wasn't me. I've not been I'm not really a fighter. I'm a very, probably an emotional individual. So that didn't sit right with me. But I recognized the message he was saying. You could have been killed, son. So it's better you hurt him before he hurt you overall. But I think that's where the White Swan, the thing happened to me before, that's where the White Swan for me was a learning curve. Because part of it is, I look even now and I reflect. Yeah. I could have prevented it in many ways. It started off at Leach's Green on December the 18th, right? And their altercation was actually my mum's birthday, January the 20th, 1996.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So them were the kind of things, and that's how close things were. And I remember dates. And even I'm sorry about it, was even one of the guys who the altercation involved yesterday, as in the 16th of January 2021.
Yes.
I saw one of the guys on my Facebook.
Okay.
As a potential friend request.
Oh.
Sorry, that's a lie. people you may know.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen to me. How small is the world now? So we've all gone around and we're all still here to live, or most of it here to live to tell the tale.
Yeah.
But that could have gone completely wrong.
Yeah.
I think what happened now, the gangs were gathering a bit more momentum.
Yeah.
Now, because what you had now is people identifying, oh my God, my man or my guy done my man something. So now man is starting to say, because I was maybe their friend, people are maybe asking questions. But if we go a bit further, the individual in question, my mum knew his mum.
Yeah.
Knew his dad. My dad knew his mum. My dad knew. So something in our community was severed before that, because actually our parents knew each other. And I don't mean like that boy there. I mean on a friendship level.
Yes.
So even in that, the learning, what are we doing now with our children to prevent these altercations happening?
Again, you see where you said that the parents knew each other. If you look at it nowadays, parents know each other, but it's the sense where I couldn't necessarily go and talk to someone else's child and say, look, what you're doing is wrong. And that's where I think it's starting to sever.
And I think definitely, because I think the element that the community spirit's gone, it's everyone for their own. And I think it's the struggle is becoming more apparent because there's the element of neglect. We're all neglecting our, I'm going to call our moral community obligations. Yeah. Because it's kind of a case of, I'm not bother with him again. Yeah. Even before we were starting, we were talking about one of our friends, mutual friend, DJing, where is he now? And I'm going to probably call his name. I think Nico. I've not seen DJ Nico for a while. Yeah. But I've asked myself, where would I be if Nico was still around? Because Nico is a man who I love. Yeah. I think you mentioned how I met you. There's some people I've met in the music. I've met a lot of people, but not many people who are genuine. Some people who have only been there to try and get what they can from being around me. So with you, I didn't feel that. With Nico, I didn't feel that. And sometimes when I hear people call his name, it hurts because I can't get hold of him. I don't know where he is.
And the thing is, the fact that whenever we speak, we always ask about, and we're in 2021, this is a friend that we've known from the 90s. Yeah. So the fact that we're still worried or we're still questioning, well, how can we find him? Where is he? It just shows how significant he plays in the journey.
Yeah, in the journey, because I think we'll come to that probably a bit later on as regards to when Nico is back to the White Swan. And I think it's like, I kind of, after the individual said to me, Gavin, you will never play, well, you can't play music again. I was like, no, you probably don't want to play music again. And I thought, to answer, it's not the kind of life that I live. I've grown up in a Christian environment. Sometimes something's out of your control, and there's powers that will also put you in places where you need to be opposed to where you want to be. And then I started to realize that actually, you know what? I think at this point now, I started to be around stereo classic a little bit more. I think what I was doing at the time, I was with Stones for what I could get out of it, take the sound when I wanted to, and just give a little change, or I could borrow the record when I wanted to. I think now I started to play the sound like it was my own. So it went from Young Taurus to stereo classic. So I'm now playing, so I'm not I'm playing revival dance and blah, blah. Because now things are going on. I'm talking about we're lifting sound boxes into a van, and part of the box being secure in the van is you being in the van to hold the box as well. But also, without you, the van there, you couldn't get home anyway. Yes. Or get to the venue. So we started to learn, and I think after the White Swan incident, I was hurt. Yeah. I was humiliated. I was embarrassed. But I also think that people around me felt that they let me down as well. Yeah. So I think when I look at, for example, my godfather, he started saying, no, this week y'all come with me. I'll go play it. Y'all come with me. Yes. Y'all come with me. To the point where, even as a DJ, I had mans, I won't call their name, who are big man in the game and not even in the road game, in a next kind of game, more like around women, wanting to play their sound. And I was told, no, you're coming, because you've shown us that you can't manage Limelight in a certain way. Yeah. We're going to bring you back to basics. So you're going to come and carry box and do your work. You're going to earn your respect from the beginning and start again.
But do you think if you didn't have that, because now you're faced with a life-threatening situation, the road could be different from you. If you retaliate, you're going down that road.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And if you didn't have that pulling you to say, look, you're playing this sound, the journey could have been different.
Yeah. I think it's definitely the sound, because what happened at that point now is, I'm going to say a word you probably haven't heard for a while. Remember the word prang?
Yeah.
So in them times, I was prang about going certain places.
Yeah.
So from a risk point of view, I was with Stereo Classic on the principle that I knew it was
safer.
I knew it was safe. I knew people I was around had my best interest at heart.
Yes.
And they cared about me.
Yes.
Where when I was going to other dances now, there's a case of, yo, Ganzi's coming. If Ganzi's coming, we know the gal are coming as well, and blah, blah, blah. But they didn't care about me.
Yeah.
They cared about what I could do for them.
What you could bring.
You know what I mean? So I was around, I didn't get the credibility, but I got the wisdom and the knowledge that I needed.
Yes.
And I needed to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm like, okay. And in the back of that, I was scared. So there was a bit of being pranked in the background of that. And I think overall, again, you got what you needed, opposed to what you wanted.
If you can remember the situation after the actual incidents happened, what was you thinking? Because, for that to happen to you, like what went through your mind at that present moment? Did you think, listen, I've lost my life?
I'm thinking I'm an idiot, because the truth of it would be is the hot-headed side of me, the non-thinking side of me, was thinking about defense and saving your reputation, saving who you are. So maybe I got too big for my boots in a sense.
Yeah.
The risk part of me was like, Kevin, are you stupid? That was inevitable.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Right. Think about it. We're all in here at our now academics, right? The research journals on these individuals, right, suggest that this may happen. So technically, I'd say, do your homework. You weren't prepared, didn't do your homework. Simple as that, right? So I think that's made me cautious now of how I move. I learned from my second chance.
Yes.
I learned from my second chance what's right and what's not right. So some more time is a case of, okay then, what's the bigger picture? Who does it affect?
Yeah.
Who wins? Who loses? Because I'm too old to be getting into fights.
And it's important as well, especially at that time, the significance of the sound system community, not the younger sound system community. I'm talking about the older heads. Yeah. I have to keep stressing it. If you didn't have that circle to pull you back in, you've mentioned you was getting too big for your boots. Yeah. We may not be having this conversation. Yeah. Because that could have easily escalated. You could have retaliated if you wanted to.
Yeah. Could have been. And I think overall we learn, man. We learn. It was a massive learning curve. And I think sometimes things needed to happen. If it didn't happen then, it happened another time in another way. So it might have been fatal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of learn, take it as a learning curve.
I want to move on to now community radio station, and I want to paint the picture now. I remember it like it was yesterday. We're in Aston, back off Litchfield Road. There's some blocker flats. Blocker flats are no longer there. There's a little mini roundabout there, but there were some blocker flats there, quite derelict around that area as well. I went into these blocker flats and went upstairs. There was a radio station. A friend brought me there and we was just chilling. And I left there and I thought, this is something I want to do. I really liked it. And I immediately went out and bought records off Nico. Bought the records off Nico. Okay, a box of records off Nico. I bought some records off Ricky Chu English. Yeah. I bought some records off him as well. And just started this DJing this radio. I had no idea about what to do, but I was just learning as we go along. I was with Chucksta and 61. Yeah. And we formed our little Confusion crew and we moved forward.
Yeah, Confusion crew. And again, it's funny because on my computer I still got your jingles from Capleton. Yeah, so I think when I met you, I think the radio had been going for a little while then. But I think how the radio started, I'll never forget it. It started in Nietzsche's Green. How it started was MCing. Garage was big. So we're going back to 1999, borderline 2000. Yeah. Right? Could be even 2001. And I remember, I'll never forget it, where Silk City was going on with things at that point now. If you wanted house and garage, you had to be listening to Silk City. Yeah, that was what it was. But at the same time, there was loads of MCs coming through, loads of new DJs coming through, I remember me and two other individuals, I'm not going to name no names, had a conversation, and Ra cited Star Station. And I thought, stop being silly. I feel like we mentioned it, we kind of went to start it up, but I feel like it was the other two at the time I feel didn't give me what I needed.
Yes.
Now, how I work is if us three I decide to start a business tomorrow, you might go, you know what, you're serious about your business, you know. Jay might say he's serious about his business. I'm like, why wait 6 months if we can do it today? I'm quite a man to run ahead and do it on my own. So I just thought, we got opportunity, we got the individual in front of us, let's just go ahead and do it. I've got the finances, one man's got access to the equipment, and one man said they're going to support. So we kind of went through that stage and we started it. But in that process, it got too popular. It just got too popular. Yeah. And what I mean by popular was, because Silk was growing, everyone's making their own crew now.
Yes.
And that is in the gangbanger. So now what you got now?
Yeah, because we want to make it clear. This is radio land now. So when we say crews, we're talking, I'll give an example for people. You have the likes of Vortex.
Yes.
You have the Invasion. Yeah. You have the Power Hill crew. Base developers. You have what's the Graveyard. Yes. So these, when we say crews, these are music orientated groups.
And I think them kind of crews were a spin-off of Soul Solid and the garage crews, the Heartless crews, and all them individuals. So what was happening is it's a radio station that started, it's a community station that started, and demos were coming in left, right, and centre. I'm coming in to you. Coming in, yeah. They're coming in to left, right, and centre. And I found it interesting. I found it very, very, very interesting because I couldn't MC.
Yes.
I couldn't garage DJ, but now I got all this power to pick and choose who is valuable and who is not. That was hard for me because I believe in giving everyone a chance.
Yeah.
Even at my own detriment, I would like to give everyone a chance because I'm for all of us.
And just in terms of the difficulties, because now we have to remember that you're still Aston based, but now you, with your DJing, is bringing you wider. So you're having access to more people, and somebody with so much power in terms of who do I select to be on the radio station, you now have to separate yourself from the postcode to being an individual that I'm looking at the talent.
What I've always done is try to make it about, so for example, I've always tried to make it about what's my vision. Yes. So for example, there was one guy who came and his lyrics were just, I'm going to call it below the cuff.
Yeah.
So there's a space for him. However, after hours, you couldn't come on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to come on after hours, whether graveyard shift or night shift. I think what it was for me, overall, I was trying to create something, or let me change it. What was trying or should have been created was an alternative and a supplement to the need, what was in the community at the time. I think what happened and where it started to go a bit flaky was the quality and the consistency of the DJs and the MCs was very varied.
Yes.
So there weren't no one that I would say they were completely crap.
Yes.
There were some that could present very good.
Yeah.
There was some that local content was very good. We didn't get loads of whole packages.
Yeah.
What you also had was the element of, again, we're not going down the fully. It's not peace. It's not BR&B. It's not Galaxy.
Yes.
So there are certain things we're trying to stay below the radar.
Yes.
In what we're trying to achieve. So I think a man talking derogative stuff at 4 p.m. doesn't help the scenario.
Yeah.
Help the scenario. So I was very mindful of that. I'm also very mindful that people who are trying to support the radio in other ways, whether it's via advertising or putting their own DJs on there,
Yes.
want to hear certain things.
Yeah.
So you kind of balance supply and the demand on both sides, supply coming in and demand coming in, and what you're going out to. So that was the hard thing. If I'm honest with you, I think after the White Swan situation, that I didn't change who I was. I just knew there were certain places to engage,
Yes.
certain places not to.
Yeah.
So I would say after the White Swan situation, nothing happened. There was a few discussions, so to speak, nothing physical, nothing like that. It kind of ended there.
Yes.
So I didn't carry the White Swan issue technically into radio issues.
Yeah.
But I was aware that there were certain times me and some individuals had some heated conversations, and that there's one incident that happened in Small Heath, if you remember, with not calling the individual names, but it was actually it was Ganzi confusion.
Yes.
I still got the clash, you know.
Do you know what? I remember that.
Yeah. Right. So it was fun, and that day kind of hurt me still, you know. I felt that hurt me, you know. I tell you who hurt me. It was one of the MCs, because what people don't know is at the background I was working at Star City at the time as a bartender.
Yes.
At Star City, innit? And one of your dubs says,
Yeah.
"Ganzi, you're a waiter. Go and get me a Ribena." Yeah, man, that was a low blow still.
Do you know what as well, right? And I spoke to, was it Vader?
Yeah.
I was speaking to Vader a couple of weeks ago, and we were saying how, in terms of the MCs back then, is how the radio station moved to a situation where we was bringing the MCs in and we was getting dub plates done. And it was a thing where, them man, they can't get Power Hill. They can't get no Power Hill dubs. And when we must have, I think we got a Devilman dub, because Devilman was your artist. It was your artist. And we got a Devilman dub. That was good. Those were good days, to be fair. But again, moving forward in terms of, I'd say, the MCs and Smooth FM, I think Smooth FM was definitely before its time.
Definitely. I remember having a birthday party in .com.
Yes.
So Smooth started about 2000.
To be fair, before we go into that, right, explain, because listeners may not know .com and the significance of where that was located.
Okay, then. So .com, and this is going to highlight another situation without going into too much detail. And back to my risk assessment.
Yes.
All right. So .com is a cafe, an internet cafe that was on Broad Street.
Yes.
Next door to Rat and Parrot at the time.
Yes.
What's it called now? Velvet.
I think it's Velvet now.
Yeah. Right. Big up Cyrus, because Cyrus again gave people opportunities that people didn't see the opportunities at the time.
Yeah.
Now .com, it wasn't big. It could hold, at best case scenario, 80 people squashed in there if you're lucky. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about bringing. I remember I had an event and it was called Bob. Remember Bob?
Yeah.
Right, Bob?
Yeah.
Bashment on Broad Street.
Yeah.
So when people talk about, I've been in the background in a lot of stuff and opening doors, not massive doors, but small doors.
Yeah. Right.
Try and pave some way for other things to happen. So .com was a place where it was every Friday and Saturday. And the boss wanted us to play it every day of the week because he believed that music was bringing people in.
It was and the thing is, right, sorry to cut you, but this is why sometimes I cringe I would say even in the last 5 years, where I've heard DJs and MCs talk about bringing, mainstream music to Broad Street, or bringing Bashment onto Broad Street. Whereas Smooth FM done that when Broad Street recently opened. You couldn't have that type of music, was not playing on Broad Street whatsoever.
And I think I'm going to say about 2000, 2001 is when it happened. And I remember having a party. I still got the tape and it was live. And I remember, because I think I got pictures of you, Mirko, Nico on my computer. I'll show you before you go.
Yes.
Right, at my birthday party. And we done it live. So we were DJing and we were live from .com.
Radio. And for listeners, talk about that process, because you're speaking as if it was just a simple thing. Talk about that process.
It's not, because when you're working, I was talking about with budgets, and I'm not rich. I'm nowhere near rich. I wasn't rich then, not rich now. Like, I was just a guy who was hungry for elements of success.
Yes.
And trying to do it as legal as possible is the word I'm going to use. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to be flashy and attract too much attention. So we had to basically bring the radio studios to .com and broadcast live. There weren't no like, well, we're going to phone our correspondent Jay live. Where are you now, Jay? Well, I'm here, and just patch a man in. We had one studio.
Yes.
So it was either on or off. You know what I mean? There weren't no interim. It was on or off.
And the whole equipment, the rigs, everything had to be moved. And bear in mind, this is Broad Street, a main street.
Do you know what I mean? So we had there, and it was very good, right? And the significance of Broad Street, there's one guy who I'm not gonna mention his name, but what happened was, I remember one night in particular where, and this would have been when, I don't even want to mention their names, I'm honest with you. There's a shooting in Aston, quite a high profile shooting. In Aston, and I remember I was DJing in Solihull, the original dance. Left Solihull and we come back to get paid down in Aston. And a man said, and the DJ said to me, and the guy, I'm not going to call his name, but I know he knows. We still speak now, but we haven't spoken about this event since. And he goes, "Are you going to the after party?" And I said, "Nah." My response was, "Nah. And there's a chubby in Virgin. You're mad, and there's a dungeon." His response was, "What are you talking about, dungeon? You play at .com, where you talk about?" Like, kind of tried to, I'm going to call it like running joke. Running joke. I said to him, difference between .com and the after party is, if you leave .com and look left or right, I guarantee you see police presence.
Yes.
Where you going? I can guarantee no police for all a mile or two. That's the difference. In the morning, woke up, there's a shooting. So individuals died.
But the thing is, if that situation in White Swan didn't happen,
all right,
your ability, I don't want to say your ability to risk assess, but I would say you heightened your risk assessment.
And again, probably one guy I don't give enough respect to, and I'm going to call his name, is Mr. His father, Si. Because that day, right, we drove past there, and Si was like, come we go home. He could have gone, come we go in and run inside. Come we go home. Now, he said go home. I thought, you know something, I'm going on. Nothing good can come. He phoned me in the morning to tell me to put TV on the news. You know what I mean? And sometimes you've got to know to follow your gut. Your gut's there for a reason. You know what I mean? Follow your instinct.
And moving back to .com, because I think because it was a situation that you was involved in terms of bringing the radio station to .com, that was a big thing especially in the community, because I was actually in there. As you said, it's 80. People couldn't get in. Cyrus was moaning, and he loves money, and he was moaning and saying there is too much people here. The radio station was aired throughout the whole day from .com.
And I think that's what it was, innit? So what we look at now is sometimes me and Mirko, big up Mirko, is me and Mirko would talk, right? And we would say, Smooth FM was before its time. Live broadcast, although that wasn't new because PCRL were doing that back in the day. Right? But YouTube, there was clips, there was elements of us trying to broadcast live, and because PCRL would do the same kind of thing, they broadcast live from the carnival or live from the flow. So people weren't, it wasn't nothing new. What was happening is we were doing sort of a newer generation.
It's a new, and it was accessible. You've got to remember, for that generation, there was only a limited amount of people that was accessible to get into PCRL for that age group. So you had the Tyrone Melodies, you had yourselves, you had the Junior Anxies as well, that were able to access and actually play on PCRL. But that was for the older crowd.
Right. So .com opened a few things. Also, .com, I think it was the first time I realized that some people around me ain't what they say they are. I remember, because remember we had .com. I would say .com was running. I left people in charge of .com. I went on holiday. I tried to share the workload for .com, and what I realized was it was a case of people were always trying to replace me.
Yes.
Now, bear in mind, guys, I want to kind of recognize I weren't no one worth replacing. I was just a guy that had access to bits and bobs.
I think don't take credit away though, because especially for me, when I first met you, I automatically gravitated. There must have been something about you that
I think there was, but I would say me and the individual who I know regarding to you, there's a sincerity in how we communicate, authenticity. Now I know, for example, even before we got to where we are now, if you were at work and something came up that might be interesting, do you want this?
Yeah.
And there weren't no things about it. When I introduced fleas into the radio, you were like, yes, I'm down with it. Yes. You weren't fighting because I think you saw the bigger picture.
Yes.
I think others didn't see the bigger picture. What they saw was what could be beneficial to them. So I could say, in the years of me knowing you, and we've worked a lot of time, we've worked in Tamworth together.
Yeah, and I remember that phone call as well, because when, a close friend to me phoned me up and said, look, do you want to do this? I was like, nah, that's too up street for me. I can't DJ in these places. And then he phoned me back, said, please find someone. And I know it was quite a lucrative thing at the time. And straight away I phoned you, Ganzi. I said, Ganzi, look, we didn't understand the potential and the levels
that we had in front of us,
because you've got an owner that's outside of Birmingham in Tamworth that's got a beautiful club, and we could have just had that club, but we didn't. I don't think we understood at that time.
No, because it was big, and we knew what money was earned on a weekly basis. And I would say, and this is where we talk about the sincerity of the relationship, is over the years, we're not arguing over money, we've not had any fallout over money. Yeah. Because that's where I would say others who I met through the radio, we argued over £10 and £20 and £30.
Yeah.
We argued over them having a dance, for example, put on the advert, they didn't want to pay me because they didn't want to, or whatever there was. So I'm not, and I think when you're someone don't argue because you naturally don't value money, the respect is there. Yeah. I'm not going to challenge you. Me and you have exchanged through wages of the DJ in hundreds of pounds. Man don't go, wait there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man just trust the man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Might check it later, but man trust, because the man hasn't come short. If it's short, man will say, oh, if it's short, it's short. Cool. It's not an issue. It's not going to be like,
yes.
It's that, and that comes with respect and sincerity. I think what happened is, from the radio point of view, Smooth got big too quick.
It really got big. But what I also wanted, because I listened to a lot of interviews and podcasts and so forth, a lot of the MCs that, I wouldn't say a lot of them, but a proportion of the MCs came through Smooth FM. You've got the Devilmans that, came through Smooth FM. Vader, you've got Macca, you've got Dr. Pepper that's come through. You've got DAZ, Matrix, Big C, Power Hill Crew. There's a lot of, people that came through, and even some of the DJs, they came through, but it's not spoke about.
I think what it would be, and again, I think Smooth, because I think to some of them, Smooth would have been like in football, a feeder club, feeder station, Silk City.
I didn't think of it like that, but when you talk, it does make sense.
Right, that was the Silk was always the bigger station.
Yes,
bigger station, and because the Silks had a niche of events like Harmony.
Yes.
And they also had a niche that was strictly house and garage, and maybe the odd R&B show here and there. What Smooth was trying to do was have a bit more diverse, but incorporate some of the other stuff.
Yes.
So we're looking at some DJs on there. I think for me, for a guy who was in the background, supporting out in the background, helping out with bits and bobs, it was a bit, I want to call it disappointing, because what would happen is the minute that we wasn't on for whatever reason, they'll be on Silk.
Yeah.
They'll be on Silk.
Yes.
But then the minute they couldn't get on Silk, the hounding and gathering, I'm talking about, I would go to the studio sometimes, there are 30 man in the studio, in there smell like dirty kitchen to her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, okay, how do we get from this to this, guys? No, we're trying to, or I don't mind you being in there. You can't just bring a friend and bring a friend and bring a friend and bring a friend and bring a friend.
Yeah.
There's a bit of order. Although some of the individuals don't have any issues, I would say there's a few people who I would say I support them because although we don't see each other every day, I feel that they've always recognised what the radio done for them.
Yeah.
And those would be, I would say, openly, would be Vader, Brasco, Devil, Mr. Bailey, RB, and there's some guys that I might forget. I think there's quite a few people, probably Nico. I'm not going to forget Nico in there. Confusion guys. Who else is there? Yeah, those are the guys who I would say I'd recognise. Nothing spectacular, nothing massive or spectacular, but nothing massive, but something that they recognise what's moved on for them and it gave them a platform.
Because you've got the DAZs as well, do you know what I mean? And Matrix, Big C, I would say that those were people that were definitely
and part of it was
really part of it as well.
They were Big C, because Big C and Nico were very close. So I would say Big C was a big part of Smooth. However, I don't know how much they value the platform that they had. If that makes sense to them. And maybe we're talking about several young individuals running a platform they have no idea to run. And
I don't think that at the time we didn't understand. Because if you think about it, because I've often reflected, you have the .com CAF where it was all every night and it was roadblocking there. Yeah. Then you had the situation of the Planet Ice. Yeah. Talk about Planet Ice, Ganzi, because again, that was big. Before
Planet Ice. So Planet Ice, what happened now is that was more, what was their name? LJ, I think her name was. So we kind of got involved. It was 7-Eleven was called, didn't it?
Yes.
Right. So we kind of got involved with supporting them, and I didn't directly deal with her. I think she was Goldmine and Merkel's link, but I think in the process of that, there was a bit of conflict between DJs, what she pays, what she don't pay.
Yes.
So I didn't really get involved in Planet Ice. However, I had an event in Planet Ice one day.
Yeah, that's the event we was.
Right. And the event that I had was troublesome.
Because I remember you phoned me and I was like, I don't know, but okay. I'll jump on board with you.
Yep. So what happened with Troublesome now? So Troublesome is the guy that sings 15,000 Girl Like Kiss Me On.
Yeah.
So that was the artist that we bought from London. In the process of it now, I never forget it. The plan that I should have to get inside, you have to go up one ramp, up an next ramp, and it says go up 10 times, go up again, innit?
Yeah.
And the queue was down there, and in my head I think, you know what? This is my most successful dance. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. I was happy because for the first time I've seen a return on my investments. Now, bear in mind the radios cost money to run.
Yeah.
So I was always out of pocket. So people don't understand. I was always out of pocket. Not sometimes. I was always out of pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People didn't respect that I was always out of pocket to the point where I was broke out of pocket, and I was rob people to pay Paul and vice versa because I was always out of pocket. Where it got a bit interesting now, this dance has gone on now, and I've used a platform to promote the dance, and the dance is looking like it's going to be nice.
Because I remember on the radio station the day, it was Planet Ice Party with special guests.
Yeah.
And you phoned me and you was like, I'm at this train station now. We picked up the guest, and we announced it. I think it was late in the afternoon. We announced who was turning up, and then he actually came on the radio station and done the set, didn't he?
Right. So in the end, what happened with him was, at the dance now, I don't know what happened, one bag of trouble kicked off.
Yeah.
So technically the dance kind of got cancelled.
Yes.
Well, it didn't get cancelled because we're going back to the days now where it weren't PayPal, there weren't no PayPal or no Skiddle or no Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
It was like Hatman or like certain agents in it. So that day, luckily enough for me, thank you Lord, enough people didn't claim back their money. So I still made a little thing. Yeah. Some people got back their money, but I remember, the reason why I remember walking away with money from the dance is because when the dance finished, I bought a pair of tennis turntables. So I know I had money.
Yeah.
Buy it, just boom, and go and buy it.
And these are expensive back in the day.
Right. So boom, and I bought it for the studio, you know, not for my house, for the studio. Right. So I know things were nice. I think I paid about 5 or 4 bills for them, whatever it would have been.
Yeah.
So I know things were nice from the dance, innit? And I think what it was, again, before our time, innit, is I believe that we're all good people. So
Yes.
I'm not thinking about people rushing dances and trying to get in for free because they don't want to pay £5 or £2, whatever the price would have been at the time. I just trust that we're all good people. That hurt me the most because what happened is then I started to realise that the world isn't nice, the world isn't pretty.
Yes.
What you think the world is, the world actually isn't.
It's not that.
And I think that's where my mind started to change about where do we go from here.
Yeah.
Because I'm DJing is good. I'm doing little bits and bobs. I'm still, the name and the brand Ganzi is still out there. It's not massive, well, it's still out there. Some of the DJs and MCs that have come for the station now are now blowing up bigger than me, and this is brilliant. So I feel content that things are happening for people in the background.
Yes.
I'm a bit disappointed because I'm putting in all the work and people are getting more fruit than I'm getting. You know what I mean? And that happens. But I think overall, it was like, okay, the radio was costing me money. And I was like, you know what? I'm not enjoying it. I'm not really enjoying it. So again, all good things have to come to an end at some point.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's the first time I've heard in terms of you not enjoying it, because now that you speak, I can see the other side of the radio station. But as someone that loved the radio station and enjoyed times when I wasn't doing a set, and I'd just go down there and me and Nico, I'd be in the background and Nico's playing all day. I just enjoyed being there. This is something that I've not spoke to you about before, but I have to definitely say the meeting we had, we sat down, we had a meeting where you announced that Smooth FM is now coming to an end.
Was that in Newtown?
In Newtown. Yeah. And we were merging with Passion FM.
In Newtown.
I didn't understand why. But now you're speaking, I understand. But I have to say, back then,
I think what it was, because in the background, I was getting loads of struggles or challenges. Me and people are falling out. No big falling out, but I'm a man that don't carry certain feelings in I mean, but then I find I'm struggling here. I want to give an example of struggles that we had. So, for example, I had a big company approach me about advertising on the station.
Yes.
And about me DJing. They asked for me. They asked for Ganzi. We want to pay you this for radio, for advertising, and you to DJ.
Yes.
I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? No. Pay me for the radio, this price. The DJ price, leave it the same, but put these names, and I put as much people that I put on the flyer.
Yes.
On the flyer. Now, bear in mind, I'm going to say that the price I was getting for the DJ was £150. Don't quote me.
Yes.
£150. And I put about 6 DJs on there with the intention of sharing 150 between 6 men. What I done wrong, I didn't call them before and ask them. But what I thought, actually, guys, this is an opportunity for you guys to show the world how good you are. That ended up me and that man's arguing about not getting paid, and I can't pay man £30 and bits and bobs. They didn't consider that I've given my booking to you so you can go and take an opportunity. What I done wrong, I didn't explain that beforehand. But again, I'm naive. I'm thinking, you know what? Rather than me one going through the door, I want everyone to come through the door, and to the point where I'm not on the flyer.
Well, I think with that as well, it's the mentality of the individuals.
Yeah.
Because if it's the same thing that I'm thinking about, I actually went there as well. I didn't get paid, but I made links.
And again, and I think that's because maybe the radio's too ahead of our game. We were still doing bits and bobs, but we didn't know in 20 years' time we're going to be sitting there having podcasts and maybe use some of the links that we had before in our current life. You know what I mean? I can say a year hasn't gone. We don't talk every day, but a year hasn't gone. We haven't spoken.
Yeah.
Right. So that always have a catch up at least once a year. That was number one. Number two would be, yo, what one? Oh, I got this, So it's always a conversation. I might see ya. I'm not I used to for a year, but boom, we're talking 3 hours. Boom, and we just talk and catch up. Yeah. So there's always been a respect element for there, not as music, as two individuals.
Yes.
I think everyone else or most people on the radio, I still respect them, but the respect comes through music. Not from two individuals.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it is now, where some of them I wouldn't speak to. Some of them, that's I wouldn't speak, that's the wrong thing to say. Some of them I wouldn't speak to because we're not in the same circles no more. We don't have any communication numbers. The fun thing about it is now, my current phone number is the same number for the Smooth hotline, ending in 057. Yeah. It's the same number that used to be on the radio hotline. That's how long I had my telephone number for. So, chances are people can still phone if they wanted to. Yeah. Overall. I'm not saying that they need to, but it's a case of, because we have, and also, our journey's been different to theirs. Because what you find is that we both progress in certain ways. Yes. In different ways, you know what I mean? So I think sometimes we move forward, and I think where passion came into it now was passion was starting. I recognise, because sometimes I wanted to go to the radio, I couldn't afford it anyway, but I felt that I had to keep this platform open for those individuals. Yes. So I was doing things to maintain a radio that I shouldn't have been doing. Yes. I think I had my second child by then. So I'm having issues about paying for my son and my daughter's bits and bobs. I'm not doing that. I'm dealing with things over here. You know what I mean? And I'm keeping 10, 50 MCs happy, but I'm not doing the basics of my own life. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when I was approached by passion, it was like a godsend, like, yes, I can leave and you guys still get what you want and everyone wins.
And that just shows, right, is it the selflessness from yourself? Because you receive that phone call, but you're still thinking about the DJs.
Yeah, don't get wrong. We me and Passion guys spent a while thrashing it out. But I was like, you know something, I can't keep doing this, because what it was, it's a long day for me. It's a long day, and it was also the thing where you're not enjoying it because it's costing you money. There's no return. Yes. I'm now getting to argue with man owe me money. I'm now having man that think they can take the piece with me for whatever reason that think they can. And what you find, because I'm such a quiet brother, it became like, you know what, I might say, yo what, and then when I tried to balance the funds by saying, okay guys, let's bring in subs £10 a month. No. So what you say? Only gonna cost me? Yeah. So you know what? Nah. So when that passion came in, I was like, you know what, Lord, thank you very much, man. This is a godsend, because I can leave. We all can leave, and no one thinks that I don't feel like I left anyone out.
And it's good to see the timeline, because passion now evolved again into what we know now as Hot 92, and still going strong.
Still going on strong, and in fact, the guys for doing that, I think what happened, it's funny because what you find is that's still going strong, but the guys who were on the radio some of them have disappeared. Yeah, they've evolved. They're still in the music. Yeah, but they've also evolved and not doing it as much as the ones is not. And again, they've got families, they've got children, they've got careers, and all these things take a toll. But overall, I think for me, it's like, okay, guys, this is where we're at, man. The radar was a big dent in my life, man.
It's interesting seeing that, because as a person that was going through that journey, and I think we took for granted what was happening, because we was all enjoying the radio. It was a place where we could go, keep ourselves out of trouble. We enjoyed DJing anyway, we enjoyed music, but we probably didn't see the impact it was having on yourself, or even the team that was involved in, I'd say, running that or keeping it afloat.
And I think that's maybe part of my own fault, because I think what it was, we put a platform on there and we expect people to just kind of conform. And I think, again, that's probably me being naive and thinking that everyone understands, but actually don't understand, because where we're at now is people choose to understand or choose not to understand. Yeah. You know what I mean? What you'll find is some of them now, like when you hear about London, I'm hearing London stations are paying subs of £10 a week. Yes. At the time, I'm paying £10 a month. So what you find is it's swings and roundabouts, and everyone does their thing a little bit different. But I was like, you know what, man, time to just knock it on the head.
Ganzi, thank you for today. It's been a pleasure sitting down conversating with you. We could do this all day. I think I will pull you up before the end of this year, and we will have another conversation. That's cool, man.